Match Fishtank Unit 8, Lesson 3. This is a quick video to go over some answers and clarify some ideas around the anchor problems. So here's our first question. And I can see here that most of the animals are clustered on the right-hand side here. There's just a few down here, and there's nobody in this area. There's actually a blank spot. Regarding part B, there's a lot of different observations you could make, and I connected it to me personally, that these animals, even a chicken, is faster than I am. As you think about trying to make a dot plot for a data set with many data points, it gets more and more complicated, especially if you want to make sure you're representing that data set in a way that's easy to interpret. So that means that we need to look for a different way to represent the data. One way that we've used before is a tally chart, and here's a sample tally chart for this information with the added information from the Smithsonian Zoo. And then I created a histogram using that data. Now I need to note here that this is not technically a histogram because a histogram does not have space between the bars. And I just was trying to get the formatting to look right and needed to use that because the program I was using, which can be accessed at mathsisfun.com, wouldn't line it up all the way I wanted it to look without making the spaces between there, without using their bar graph function. Some things to notice. You always need a title on any type of visual representation that you're doing to make sure that people understand what you're talking about. You also need to label your axes, and that means that you take the label for this axis, singular axis, plural axes, sometimes called the y-axis. Here it's the number of animals, and you need to also label your x-axis. And here I've labeled it speed in miles per hour. And as I want to point out again, that this line at 20, there would be no space there if this were a proper histogram. Because I was doing this electronically rather than make a tally chart, I used highlighting in different colors to keep track of the different numbers to make my frequency chart. And then again in the histogram, I'm going to show you there should be no space between the bars. So here are my head circumferences for caps. I've labeled my y-axis, the number of people, my x-axis, the circumference in millimeters. And then I can use that to answer some questions. So when I'm asked to find the center of the data set, it's not enough to say, hey, it's blue. I want to come up with a particular number that would be the center or typical value for the data set. And in this case, I'm thinking it would be right about here. Again, should be no space there, but right about on the boundary there. Without doing any further analysis, I can't know for sure, but visually that looks about right. If I added 551 millimeters and 569 millimeters, both of those would go into the same bar, that blue bar above, so it would just be 2 taller. And then 6 more people need extra small or small compared to the number who need extra large or extra, extra large.